we stopped was we finally connected the script to the FSM and we got our character animating under joystick control. I posted an in-class challenge. What if how could we make the guy walk backwards and also have an attack? So let's do a quick solution to that. What do we need for what backwards walk? What assets do we need? We need the walk one. Yeah, walk one's our backwards walk anim. We know that's true because we can preview it here and he walks backwards. He looks a little stiff, but he is a knight. I think it's designed that way. I'm going to quickly make sure that loop time and loop pose are selected here so that the walk backwards anim looks correct. And I'm going to rename the asset walk BCK. And I'm going to hit apply. And that gives me that animation. Then I'm going to take that asset, I'm going to drag and drop it into the animator so that I've got a second state. And I'm going to add a couple transitions. One from idle to walk back, and one from walk. It's walk forward. What happened? You're right. Where's walk back? Did I not rename it? Walk BK. Enter. Walk BK. There it is. Apply. There it is. Try this again. Transition to walk back, or transition to Burger King. Transition there again. Okay, so our condition for going to the backwards anim is what? Negative. Negative, exactly. So less than negative 0.1. Okay. Negative 0.1. And our transition from there again is v greater than negative 0.09. And we make sure that has exit time is off because we want our walk to be responsive. Going back to our floor, just making it a little more, a little smaller so we can see what's happening. Let's play that. There we go. So we can push forward, he walks forward, we let go, he stops, we can walk backwards, he stops, and then rotation. We'll add an animation for rotation, scissors stepping left and right later. But that's all it is, right? So that's pretty easy for the walk back. What about for our attack? We want to add some kind of jab or something. What's a good animation for that? Slash. Let's find slash. Not the guitarist. There's lots of slashes. There's like 5 of them. Let's have a look. That's good. Let's do that. So again, are we going to loop time and loop pose this? No, we are not because it's a one-off animation. We're going to call it slash 0 slash 0. And we're going to hit apply. That'll change the name. That's nice. We will look in this course later at how to attack while during navigation. While doing navigation, it will require animation layers. For now, our slash is going to be from our idle. So you're only going to attack when you're not walking, which means we're going to transition from the idle state to the slash state when something is true. What's that something? When a button is pressed. Let's use a trigger parameter to send that message. So we're going to say new trigger. We're going to call it, generically speaking, action. You may have called yours punch or slash or something. I'm actually going to call it action because we're going to think about ways in which we can change the action that we're doing when different contextual things happen in the game. So our slash anim is going to be like our default action anim. Maybe we'll change that in the future too, but we'll see how it works for now. So we'll call it action. And what do we connect? With what? To what? With what? To idle. We'll make a transition. Very good. And the transition will be the action trigger. And there's no other information there on the condition data because triggers are either true or false. And when you set a trigger to true in script, it's true for one frame and then it auto sets itself to false, so we don't have to manage the state of it, unlike Booleans where we do.
Why wouldn't we apply it to any state?
We will need to, good question, we will need to change our animator FSM to use different animations in different states. So we may find that when this action is pressed, we want to be doing some walk animation in the lower body and then a punch in the upper body. So the way we treat it is not going to be just a single state with a single animation in it. There may be some form of blend tree combined with a layer happening. So we're going to need more parts, more moving parts in our animator controller to make it look good.
Okay.
So we will is coming. Okay? Yeah. So we're going back to our slash. When our slash is done, we're going to make a transition back. And the condition for transitioning back is just going to be left empty, and that corresponds to when the animation is finished. For this one, we're going to leave has exit time on because we're going to transition back when the slash move is actually done. This is designed to look good when you play the slash and then go right back to the idle, as we can see. But the transition 2, we're going to leave this off because we want to attack as soon as the button is pressed. We don't want to wait for our idle animation before we actually do an attack. Why is that a bad idea? Because the enemies are going to hit us, right? We want our attacks to be responsive. So we're going to do that right away. So he'll go like that. Okay. So how do we connect that? If we go back to our script, we want to pass some information into that parameter when our attack button is pressed. Animator dot set, and the API is based off of the data type. Set trigger, very good, and it only takes one parameter, the name, and our trigger name is action. We want to set that to be true when a button is pressed. Okay, so how do we know when a button is pressed? We're going to add something called action button. Okay, so it'll be another input that we're going to inspect. We're going to say public bool action button. And that's going to be true when a button is pressed on our input manager, and it's going to be false when it's not. So it's another thing that we have to pull from the input manager. Just like up here, we pull the input manager for horizontal and vertical. We're also going to pull action button state from the input manager. We're going to say get button down, which returns true during the frame the user presses down the button. That's different than get button, which returns true if the button is down. This will spam the button down all the time if you're holding it. Get button down returns true only on the frame when you go from up to down. It's because we only want to set the trigger on that frame. Do we have any buttons by default in our input manager? What's a defined button? Space is a key. We do have key code dot space, but we're not talking about key codes. We're talking about buttons. So a button is a virtual identifier for a move. Just like horizontal and vertical can respond to also the keyboard and also the analog stick, buttons can correspond to keys and button presses. Left click is one. I'm actually going to use fire one. If we look at the input manager, we've got a few by default here. If we go back up here and we go input manager under edit, project settings input, we've got horizontal, vertical axes. We've got fire 1, 2, 3 buttons. We've got a jump button. We've got submit buttons. We've got a cancel button. We'll probably add an action button, maybe an attack button as we expand on our game. But we're going to use fire 1 because it's defined already and it's mapped to the left control or mouse 0. Okay? So there's fire 1. Looking back to our game. So we click our left button and he's attacking already. Set the height of our camera back to like 3, 2. There we go. He's attacking. And we can push forward to walk forward. We can push back to walk back. Incidentally, if we want to change the button, if we want to add a new button to our input manager, we can do that. We can go to project settings, input, and we can just say, 19. And that adds another cancel. Let's call this attack. And attack will be connected to left control when it's positive. Or space. Let's use space for attack. So if we want to use attack instead of fire 1, what do we have to change? Correct. So let's do that. And now I've got our attack on the attack button, space bar. So I'm hitting space, he's attacking. So we can do that. It's nice because it's cross-platform, and if you want to write code that has different input devices, you can do it through the button interface, and then it'll work even if you don't have a keyboard or whatever.